What would you do if someone waltzed onto your land, declared it perfect, and acted like they owned it? I had spent years building this farm, pouring my sweat into every inch of soil, trading the endless noise of the city for the quiet rhythm of nature. Out here, life was simple but honest. My days started before sunrise, the air cool against my skin as I walked the fields, checking the irrigation lines and feeding the animals. By evening, the golden light stretched across the wheat, crickets humming in the distance, the scent of freshly tilled earth lingering in the breeze. It wasn't an easy life, but it was mine, built with my own 2 hands. That's why, when I heard the low rumble of an approaching vehicle one morning, I knew something was off. My farm was miles from the nearest town, and visitors were rare unless they had a reason to be here. Wiping the sweat from my brow, I turned just in time to see a bright red SUV kicking up dust as it barreled down my driveway. It wasn't just any SUV either. This thing gleamed like it had just rolled out of a showroom, out of place against the backdrop of dirt roads and endless wheat fields. Before the tires had even stopped moving, the driver's door swung open, and out stepped a woman who looked like she belonged in a fashion catalog, not the middle of a farm. Her pristine white sneakers barely touched the dusty ground before she yanked a pair of oversized sunglasses into place, tilting her phone at just the right angle to snap a selfie. She turned in slow circles, the sun catching in her perfectly styled blonde waves, surveying the land like she was inspecting a set for a photo shoot rather than someone's home. My hands tightened around the sack of feed I'd been loading. Something in my gut told me this woman was trouble. Then she spotted me. Her face lit up like I was some kind of rare sighting, a curiosity in a theme park. "Oh wow," she said, her voice dripping with excitement. "This place is absolutely stunning." She waved a manicured hand toward my land, nodding approvingly as if she had some right to make judgments about it. I knew I made the right call coming here. I frowned. The first flicker of irritation crept up my spine. "And who exactly are you?" She let out a small, dismissive laugh, like the question itself was unnecessary. "Oh, I'm Karen. I run an Instagram page, over 50,000 followers, actually." She tucked her phone under her arm, flashing me a grin that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I specialize in rustic countryside aesthetics, and your farm is exactly what I needed." She spoke as if that explained everything. As if that gave her the right to be here. I thought that was the last of her. I really did. For a few days, life returned to its usual rhythm, the steady hum of the wind across the wheat, the morning routine of tending to the land, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had built something real, something lasting. The whole encounter with Karen had been irritating, sure, but I figured she was just another one of those city people who didn't understand boundaries. She'd move on to another farm, another aesthetic location, and that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The first sign was the tire tracks. They weren't there the day before, and they weren't mine. Deep, fresh imprints in the dirt, leading from the main road, winding around the side of my barn, and disappearing toward the back of my property. At first, I thought maybe a delivery driver had taken a wrong turn, but I hadn't ordered anything. Then I noticed something worse. The fence near my northern field was slightly off, one of the wooden posts tilting at an angle it shouldn't have been. My gut twisted. I followed the tracks, my boots kicking up dust as I moved deeper into the field. The moment I reached the clearing, my breath hitched. My wheat, rows of golden stalks I had spent months tending, was flattened. Trampled. Large patches of it were completely destroyed, as if someone had walked straight through without a care in the world. And then I saw them. The remnants of a photo shoot. A long white fabric sheet lay discarded in the dirt, stained at the edges where it had been dragged across the ground. A wooden crate sat tipped over near the center, likely used as a prop for posing. Fake flowers, cheap, plastic things, were scattered carelessly around, and right in the middle of it all, standing tall as if it had every right to be there, was a tripod. Not even knocked over. Whoever had been here had left it behind, fully intending to come back. I didn't have to wonder who had done this. Fury burned hot in my chest as I turned, my gaze sweeping over the wreckage. Karen hadn't just ignored my warning, she had trespassed, destroyed my crops, and turned my land into her personal photography studio. And worse, she hadn't even bothered to clean up after herself, like this place was nothing more than a disposable backdrop for her curated little Instagram world. I stormed back to the house, my fists clenched, my mind racing with how I was going to handle this. The sheriff. That was the next step. I wasn't the type to involve the authorities over something petty, but this wasn't just some harmless misunderstanding. This was intentional. She had come in the dead of night, brought people with her, and acted like my farm belonged to her. I grabbed my phone, my hands still shaking from anger, and pulled up the security footage. The grainy video from the barn's cameras showed exactly what I expected, Karen's bright red SUV pulling onto my property well past midnight. The headlights flicked off quickly, like she knew she wasn't supposed to be here. Then she stepped out, along with two others, one carrying bags of equipment, the other lugging a massive ring light. They didn't creep cautiously or hesitate. No, they walked with purpose, like they had every right to be here. The footage showed them setting up, Karen directing the shoot like a professional. She posed on the crate, twirling in her flowy white dress, her assistant adjusting the lighting while the photographer snapped picture after picture. And the entire time, she stomped through my wheat without a second thought, flattening stalks under her pristine sneakers. 2 hours. That's how long they were there, moving from one spot to another, using my land as their playground. And then, just as easily as they had come, they packed up their things, except for the tripod, which they left behind like some sort of claim on my field, and sped off down the road. I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to stay calm. There was no question about it. She had done this on purpose. She had seen my land, decided she wanted it, and took it without a single ounce of respect for the fact that it wasn't hers. I wasted no time. I compiled every piece of evidence, the trampled crops, the abandoned props, the security footage, and drove straight to the sheriff's office. I wasn't going to let this slide. The drive into town felt longer than usual, my grip on the steering wheel tightening with every passing mile. By the time I reached the sheriff's office, my patience had burned itself down to embers. I wasn't the kind of person who liked getting the authorities involved, but Karen had left me no choice. She hadn't just trespassed, she had violated my land, trampled my hard work, and treated my home like her personal amusement park. If I didn't put a stop to it now, what was next? A full-on influencer retreat? I walked straight to the front desk, dropped the printed photos of the damage onto the counter, and pulled up the security footage on my phone. The deputy on duty, a no-nonsense guy named Carter, listened as I laid it all out, how I had caught her trespassing once, how she ignored my warning, and how she returned with an entire crew in the dead of night. His face hardened as he flipped through the evidence. "You've got a solid case here," he muttered, shaking his head. "She can't just walk onto private property and do whatever she wants. We'll have an officer pay her a visit. If she refuses to cooperate, you can press charges for trespassing and property damage." That was exactly what I wanted. Karen needed to learn that just because she had a fancy car and an Instagram following didn't mean she could do whatever she pleased. I left the station feeling a little more at ease, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Karen wasn't the type to back down when she didn't get her way. And I was right. By the time I got home, my phone was already lighting up with notifications. Karen had struck first. Her latest Instagram post was a blurry photo of my farm taken from the road. The caption? "Some people just don't appreciate art. It's so sad when outdated mindsets get in the way of sharing beauty with the world. I just wanted to capture the magic of the countryside, and instead, I was met with aggression. What is this world coming to?" The comments section was exactly what I expected, hundreds of people rushing to her defense, calling me a gatekeeping jerk, a grumpy old man, and worse. Some were even offering to leave bad reviews on my farm's business page. I clenched my jaw, my blood boiling. Karen wasn't just trying to spin the story, she was deliberately turning her followers against me. Then came the real nightmare. The next morning, I heard the sound of tires crunching over gravel. Multiple cars. My stomach dropped. When I stepped onto the porch, I was met with a sight that made my skin crawl. Karen hadn't come alone this time. There were at least 6 people standing near my fence, holding signs, actual signs. One read "Let creators create." Another said "Stop gatekeeping nature." A few of them had their phones out, recording me as if I was some kind of villain in their manufactured drama. And then, standing at the front like a queen addressing her subjects, was Karen, her arms crossed and an infuriating smirk on her face. "What the hell is this?" I growled, stepping off the porch. Karen gestured vaguely at the group. "Just a peaceful protest," she said sweetly. "You see, a lot of people are really upset about how you treated me. They feel like small creators deserve the right to use public land." "This is private property," I snapped. She sighed, shaking her head like I was a child who just didn't get it. "Ethan, come on. You're being ridiculous. I'm just trying to promote rural beauty. You're getting all worked up over nothing." "Nothing?" My hands curled into fists at my sides. "You destroyed my crops. You broke my fence. You sold people access to my land without my permission. And now you're trying to make me look like the bad guy?" Her smirk twitched. "I didn't sell anything. I just facilitated connections. People want to experience this lifestyle, Ethan. You should be flattered." Before I could respond, one of her followers piped up from the crowd. "You should be grateful Karen's even giving you exposure. Do you know how many people would kill for this kind of promo?" Something inside me snapped. "I don't need your damn exposure. I need you and your circus off my land." Karen gasped dramatically, turning to the cameras. "You see? This is exactly what I mean. So aggressive. So hostile. I just wanted to celebrate nature, and now I'm being yelled at for it." I barely resisted the urge to laugh in disbelief. She was setting me up. Every word, every reaction was being twisted into her narrative. That's when I noticed another car pulling up, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. Something told me I wasn't going to like what came next. The door opened, and a man in a suit stepped out. His polished shoes crunched against the gravel as he adjusted his tie, his expression unreadable. He looked at me, then at Karen, then at the group of protesters. "You must be Ethan," he said coolly, extending a hand. "I'm here on behalf of the local HOA. We need to talk." I didn't shake his hand. I barely even looked at it. Instead, I crossed my arms and leveled my gaze at him. "What exactly does the HOA have to do with my farm?" The man, whose name I later learned was Richard Calloway, a senior board member of the local HOA, gave me a rehearsed smile. The kind of smile I'd seen from salesmen trying to push a bad deal. "We've been made aware of some concerns regarding your land," he said smoothly, glancing toward Karen. "And we believe there may be an opportunity here for a mutually beneficial arrangement." I didn't like where this was going. Karen, standing smugly beside him, folded her arms. "Ethan, I was just telling the HOA how your land is perfect for a community space," she said. "There are so many people who would love to come here, take photos, and experience farm life. And honestly, it's kind of selfish for you to keep it all to yourself." I let out a slow breath through my nose, forcing myself to stay calm. "This is my land," I said evenly. "I bought it. I maintain it. I put in the work. That's not selfish, that's ownership." Richard let out a polite chuckle, but there was something sharp beneath it. "You misunderstand, Mr. Ethan. We're simply suggesting that, in the spirit of community development, your property could serve a greater purpose. The HOA has been discussing potential zoning changes that would allow for broader use." My hands clenched at my sides. "Zoning changes?" Karen grinned. "Like a designated scenic photography site. Or maybe even a small influencer retreat. Think of the tourism potential." I took a step forward, my voice colder than before. "Over my dead body." Richard's smile stiffened. "Ethan, please. This doesn't have to be a fight. We're offering to work with you. The HOA could even help you, maybe provide grants, funding for improvements." I cut him off. "I don't need your funding, and I don't need your damn HOA meddling in my business. My farm is not a playground for influencers." Karen scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Ugh, you are so stubborn. This is exactly why small farms die out. You refuse to adapt." I tried to be nice about it, but if you're going to be difficult, maybe I will push the HOA to make some changes. The fire in my chest burned hotter. "Get off my land." Richard exhaled, clearly not used to being dismissed so easily. But he nodded, turning to Karen. "I think we've made our position clear. Let's go." Karen gave me a final glare before flicking her hair over her shoulder and strutting back to her SUV, her protesters following behind. I watched them go, but I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the next 2 days reinforcing my property. I installed more security cameras, double-checked my fences, and put up new "No trespassing" signs in bold red letters. I even contacted a lawyer, just to make sure the HOA didn't have any real power over my land. But deep down, I knew Karen wasn't done. And I was right. Late that night, just past 3 in the morning, I woke to a sound that sent ice through my veins, a loud, splintering crash. I bolted upright, grabbed my flashlight, and was out the door in seconds. The night was dark, but my flashlight's beam cut through it, revealing the damage. My barn gate, the one I had repaired just months ago, was hanging loose from its hinges, shattered where something had rammed into it. A vehicle. My stomach dropped as I followed the fresh skid marks leading away from the scene, my heart pounding. Whoever had done this had floored the gas, hit my gate at full speed, and then sped off into the night. I already knew who it was. I stormed back into the house, yanking open my laptop to check the security feed. The grainy footage confirmed it. Karen's bright red SUV came into view, headlights off as it approached the barn. And then, without hesitation, she floored it, slamming straight into the gate before reversing and peeling off down the driveway. That was it. That was the final straw. This wasn't some petty Instagram drama anymore. This was destruction of property. This was a crime. I grabbed my phone and called the sheriff's office. By the time I got there, Deputy Carter barely had to ask what I was there for, he could tell just by looking at me. "I take it Karen crossed another line?" he asked, already pulling out a report form. "She rammed her damn car into my barn gate," I growled, shoving my phone across the counter to show him the footage. "This isn't just trespassing anymore. She's destroying my property. She's escalating." Carter watched the footage, his jaw tightening. "All right," he said after a moment. "That's enough. She's done playing games. We'll take it from here." An hour later, Karen was arrested at her home. From what I heard, she threw a fit, claiming I was overreacting, that it was just a harmless accident, and that she didn't mean to cause damage. But the evidence was too strong. The sheriff's department impounded her car for inspection, confirming the dents and paint scratches matched my barn gate. For the first time since this nightmare started, Karen wasn't in control of the narrative. She had spent weeks thinking she was untouchable. That she could spin any situation in her favor, twist reality to make herself look like the victim. But reality had finally caught up to her. And this time, there was no carefully curated Instagram post that could save her. Karen's arrest didn't make the headlines like she probably wanted, but it sent a clear message: she wasn't above the law. Trespassing, property damage, harassment. She had racked up enough charges to ensure that her influencer career wouldn't be the only thing going up in flames. The sheriff assured me that, with the evidence I provided, she wouldn't be able to talk her way out of this one. And sure enough, within days, her social media presence started crumbling. At first, she fought back, posting cryptic messages about being wrongfully targeted and standing up against small-minded people who don't understand art. But it didn't take long for the truth to spread. The security footage of her ramming into my barn gate? Someone leaked it. Maybe it was a deputy, maybe it was someone who had access to her case files, but once it hit the internet, there was no spinning the narrative. She was no longer the misunderstood creative being oppressed by an angry farmer. She was just a reckless, entitled trespasser who had finally faced the consequences of her actions. Her followers turned on her. Sponsors dropped her. Even the HOA, which had been eager to push me out just days before, suddenly distanced themselves from her entirely. They didn't want to be associated with a criminal. The same people who once demanded that I open my land for public use, now acted as if they had never supported her to begin with. And just like that, Karen went silent. Her accounts vanished, either deleted out of shame or suspended due to reports of harassment. And me? My farm was finally mine again. No more strangers showing up looking for some influencer's secret getaway. No more cameras, no more staged photo shoots, no more threats. Just the land, the sky, and the peace I had worked so hard to build. Looking back, I still can't believe how far she was willing to go just to prove a point. All for some curated image, some fleeting validation from an online audience that forgot about her the second she was exposed. And for what? Entitlement is a dangerous thing. Some people believe they can take whatever they want without consequence. That rules don't apply to them. That their wants matter more than other people's rights. But reality has a way of humbling even the most stubborn of narcissists. So, what do you think? Have you ever dealt with someone who refused to respect boundaries, whether it was an influencer, an HOA, or just an entitled stranger? Share your experiences below. I'd love to hear how you handled it.